My name is Isabella. I am 36 years old, and I reside in a tranquil hamlet on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. My profession is that of an accounting assistant at a firm that provides medical equipment, and I also manage our modest household. There are no children, no clamor, just my husband Tyler and myself. Tyler is my contemporary. He holds a leadership role in sales for a prominent real estate agency. He possesses an impeccable appearance and a compelling voice. He is always attired in crisply ironed shirts, and his passage is accompanied by the lingering aroma of expensive cologne. From an outsider's perspective, I likely appear fortunate, yet no one can fathom the chilling emptiness within this residence. Today was meant to be a singular occasion. It was the 12th of June, marking 8 years since our wedding and Tyler's 36th birthday. I took half the day off from work and drove for over 30 minutes solely to procure his preferred red wine. I also visited a specialty butcher shop to select some prime beef ribs. While I am not an accomplished chef, I exerted my utmost effort to ensure this supper would be unforgettable. I adorned the balcony with fairy lights, spread a cream-colored tablecloth, and meticulously arranged the silverware. A custom-ordered cake awaited in the refrigerator, simple, with a smooth vanilla frosting and a small inscription on top. To Tyler, happy birthday and anniversary. By 7 in the evening, I had adjusted my dress, applied a touch of perfume, and settled in to wait. I truly believed he would come home. At 8 o'clock, I lit the candles. At 9, I sent a message, waiting for a response. By 10:30, I had placed a call, receiving 5 rings followed by voicemail. Precisely at 22:35, I received a brief email from Tyler. Apologies, an urgent situation with a major client. I'll have to stay late at the office. We'll make up for it later. There was no acknowledgement of our anniversary, no word of thanks. I placed my phone on the table. The candles had long since extinguished. The cake remained untouched in the refrigerator, and I sat frozen in the warm glow of the dining area, still clutching the elaborately folded napkin I had prepared for him. I did not weep, but a profound shift occurred within my chest. That evening, I meticulously cleared everything away. I packed the meat and put it back in the refrigerator. I removed the festive lights and wiped down the table. No one had savored the meal. There was no one with whom to celebrate. I retired around midnight, still clad in the slightly rumpled dress I had chosen for this special evening. I tried to fall asleep, but the image of that brief, cold email repeatedly pierced my consciousness like a dull blade. It was not the first time Tyler had arrived home late, nor the first time I had waited until my body ached. But this time, something felt distinctly different. A quiet, creeping premonition, like a cold draft snaking along my spine. The following morning, I rose early and proceeded to work as usual. However, throughout the entire day, not a single message arrived from my husband. My attempts to contact him yielded only incessant ringing, as if I had ceased to exist in his world. At midday, overcome with anxiety, I telephoned Tyler's office. The receptionist hesitated for a moment before stating, "Oh, he resigned 3 days ago and didn't leave any contact information." I stood frozen in the corridor of my own office. The air around me seemed to thicken. My heart began to pound, and memories flooded back, like a film reel playing in reverse. Suddenly, I understood. This wasn't about work or a client. He had chosen to disappear, and I, his wife of 8 years, was the last to know. Immediately after work, I rushed home. Every turn of the steering wheel felt like an effort to brace myself against an approaching wave. I unlocked the door to our third-floor apartment, a place that once felt like a sanctuary, now steeped in a suffocating silence. My gaze immediately fell upon the shoe rack, a gaping void in the second row. Tyler's cherished brown leather loafers were gone. I called out, "Tyler!" Silence. I raced into the bedroom and my heart plummeted. He stood in the middle of the room next to an open suitcase. His belongings were hastily tossed into a duffel bag: a dark blue suit, a tie, a pair of brand new shoes with the tags still attached. Items he never wore for regular appointments. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. Tyler raised his eyes to me as if I were a stranger. "You're back," he said indifferently, and continued packing. I stepped closer. "Where are you going?" "Moving," he replied casually. "I've accepted a new position in Albuquerque." "What?" I froze. "You quit your job and didn't say a word to me." He offered no response. Instead, he retrieved a slim folder from his bag and placed it on the table, opening it. The first page contained divorce papers. I stood motionless. "Tyler, what is this?" He looked at me with a steely gaze. "You're no longer the wife I need." "What are you talking about?" I exhaled, unable to comprehend. "You always prioritized your work. The house is dusty. You only cook on weekends. You don't care about me anymore." I clutched the papers. "I've been trying. You come home late and say you've already eaten. I cook and you don't touch it. I clean and you tell me not to touch your desk. And now you're accusing me of neglecting my duties." "Don't get into specifics," he interrupted. "You're just making excuses. A real wife doesn't need reminders." I let out a bitter laugh. "You talk as if I do nothing all day. I work. I pay half the rent. But no one cooks dinner for me. No one asks how I feel, and I've never complained." Tyler narrowed his eyes. "That's your choice." "I've made mine." He zipped up his suitcase and headed for the door. "I've rented an apartment near my new job. I'll be out next week. Don't interfere with me." I blocked the doorway. No apologies, no explanations. "After 8 years, I owe you nothing," he said, walking around me without looking back. The door clicked shut behind him, definitively and coldly, like the gavel of a judge. I sank to the floor, still clutching the divorce papers. My hands trembled. 2 days later, I received a call from the management company. "Ms. Isabella, we've just received a request to reassign the lease. The current tenant wishes to terminate the agreement." I froze. "What did he say?" I inquired. "He simply left a note. I no longer live here. The one remaining should pack their belongings and vacate by the end of the month." No discussion, no messages. That evening, I rummaged through our old desk drawer and found receipts for all the furniture. Almost everything, from the sofa to the refrigerator, was registered in my name. The only items he took were his clothing and a few small electronic devices. Tyler had departed like a stranger, but it was this very coldness that finally awakened me. I surveyed the apartment. Everything was still in its place, except for our marriage. I did not sign the divorce papers immediately. They lay on the table for 3 days, like a scratch that had yet to begin bleeding. Each time I passed them, I paused and peered, as if an answer might materialize between the stark printed lines. But the longer I looked, the clearer it became. The only explanation was Tyler's cruel silence as he left, uttering not a word. On Saturday evening, I received a notification from a group of old friends. A high school reunion, 18 years after graduation, at a craft brewery in downtown Denver. I had eagerly anticipated this, even paying for a reservation a month prior. Back then, I had envisioned arriving hand in hand with Tyler, a stable couple amidst those who were struggling or already divorced. Now, only I, in a profound, aching emptiness, remained. I almost didn't go, but then, catching sight of my tired reflection in the mirror, a flicker of dignity still in my eyes, I dressed. A simple black dress, wine-colored lipstick, my hair pulled back. Not to impress anyone, but to remind myself that I still existed, that I was still strong enough to enter a noisy room without faltering. The Moonlight Brewery was as loud and bustling as I remembered from our teenage years. Laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the hum of old stories emanating from every corner. I stepped into the din. Initially, I felt out of place, until a familiar gaze made me pause. "Hi, Isabella." I turned. It was Nathan, the guy who used to play bass in the school band. He now sported a light stubble and a calm, warm demeanor. "I almost didn't recognize you." He smiled, extending a beer to me. "Still showing up fashionably late?" "Yes." We sat at a small table in the back. Nathan shared that he had divorced 3 years ago and was raising his 6-year-old daughter alone, without bitterness or drama, just the quiet truth shared by 2 adults midway through life. When he inquired about Tyler, I replied, "We're simply divorcing. No regrets." Nathan nodded slightly and changed the subject, and I was quietly grateful for it. That evening, driving home through the cool air of early Colorado summer, I turned on the radio. An old song began to play. "It's not right, but it's okay." The lyrics struck me like a punch to the chest, releasing a torrent of memories. The cold dinners that went untouched, the unread messages, the hugs that dissolved into emptiness. All these years, I had told myself, Tyler is busy. I need to be more understanding. I just need to try harder. But faced with the stark reality, I realized I had been living as a shadow, perpetually fabricating excuses for someone else's indifference. On Sunday morning, as I brewed coffee, my phone rang. Tyler's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated for a few seconds, then answered. "I've informed the management company that we're terminating the lease by the end of the month. It's time for you to pack your things," he said, his voice flat, like an order. I maintained my composure. "Do you not think it would have been courteous to inquire if I have somewhere to go?" "You're an adult, you'll figure it out," he replied curtly. I set down my mug and spoke slowly. "All right, I'll sign. And don't call me again," I said firmly. "Don't speak to me as if I'm still the one who keeps your household in order." Silence returned. I hung up without hesitation. I sat at the table. My gaze drifted over the divorce papers, and then, as if closing a chapter long since rotted from within, I picked up a pen and affixed my signature. Not a tremor in my hand, not a single tear, only clarity. After so many years clouded by empty promises. Precisely 1 week after I submitted the divorce documents through my attorney, Tyler sent me an email close to 10 in the evening. The subject line contained a single word: proof. I opened it. Before I could even read the first line, I saw a photograph. A marriage certificate. Groom, Tyler Robert James. Bride, Marissa Ellis Whitmore. Below it, a dark red seal. Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Registration date: exactly 1 day after the court finalized our divorce. Before I could fully process this, my phone rang. He had called immediately after sending the email. I answered. Tyler's voice sounded disturbingly triumphant. Did you see? Yes, I got married. Life has never been better. I remained silent, simply listening. And somewhere deep inside, something quietly began to shift. Her name is Marissa. She's 36, just like you. But she's mature, gentle, and... He paused. So beautiful, you'd be envious. I stayed silent. She's the only daughter of the family that owns the Whitmore real estate agency chain in Santa Fe. Her parents have built us a small home near the South Hills. And work? Her family helped me become an executive vice president in their company. So that's why you needed the divorce so urgently, I asked, trying to keep my voice even. Not entirely, he replied. I just couldn't live with a woman who always put her work first and neglected her role as a wife. I let out a quiet laugh. And your new wife? She doesn't work. She's chosen to care for the home. And we're expecting a girl, Tyler said smugly. She's 3 months pregnant. Each of his phrases felt like a dull blade severing the last thread that once bound me to this marriage. But instead of pain, I felt only an empty silence. Marissa Whitmore, I repeated the name after hanging up. It wasn't entirely unfamiliar. I opened Facebook and typed it in. Her profile appeared almost instantly. The profile picture showed a stunning woman with soft blonde waves, piercing blue eyes, and a smile that could make anyone feel insignificant. I scrolled down and froze at the 10th photograph. Marissa was the same girl who had attended high school with me for 3 years. Back then, her name was Marissa Ellis, not Whitmore. She was thin, with narrow eyes, a flat nose, and skin spotted from a reaction to cosmetics. She sat in the back rows, rarely spoke, and classmates often mocked her. This can't be. I reopened the wedding photo Tyler had sent in the email. The bride in that picture looked like a completely different person, not a trace of the former Marissa Ellis. But I remembered those eyes. That slightly crooked tooth she was teased about. Buck teeth. The way she always looked down as she walked down the corridor. How could one forget? I called Lana, my best friend from school. Do you remember Marissa Ellis? I asked. A pause hung on the other end. Then Lana chuckled. Remember her? I still have her picture from our senior year yearbook. Why are you suddenly thinking of her? I recounted everything. Tyler, the new marriage, the gifted home, the magically acquired executive position. Lana wasn't surprised. She changed completely after moving to New York for art school, underwent several plastic surgeries: chin, nose, eyes, jawline. People called her Marissa, but her character remained the same: quiet, calculating, and very strategic about who to attach herself to. I remained silent. There were rumors she got involved with a much older, married architect in Brooklyn, Lana added. Then she returned to New Mexico and opened an art gallery. It seems she's reached a new level now. I had no more questions. That evening, I sat in the living room, gazing at the wedding photo of Tyler and Marissa. Everything in the frame gleamed: the flowers, the white dress, the perfectly straight teeth in her radiant smile. But I knew that beneath it all lay layers of makeup, a carefully constructed image, and a well-concealed agenda. And he had chosen this. A week after Tyler's boastful call, I received a message from an unknown number. It was brief. "Isabella, are you free? I need to talk. It's serious." I knew who it was. I didn't reply. 15 minutes later, he called. I answered, not because I still cared, but because something prompted me. "This is worth hearing." "Marissa has given birth," Tyler said immediately. "A girl." I heard him swallow, then silence. I waited. "She doesn't resemble me, or Marissa, or anyone in our families at all." I gripped the phone tighter, pressing my lips together to keep from laughing. "Perhaps she takes after someone on your side of the family?" I suggested, light as a breeze. "No, I thought so too. But, Isabella, remember how you laughed hysterically when I told you about Marissa? Did you know something?" Tyler's voice suddenly became nervous and panicked. I leaned back in my chair, a slight smirk on my lips. "I just found it curious," I replied, restraining the sharpness in my voice. "Stop joking. I had a DNA test done. The child is mine, but I still don't understand why she doesn't resemble either of us. I haven't told anyone except you. You laughed as if you knew something. Please, tell me." I chuckled softly. My voice was calm. "Do you remember your high school yearbook?" Silence. I continued. "I found it when I was packing up my things at the old apartment. It was at the very bottom of your desk drawer, covered in dust." "You were going through my things?" Tyler sounded slightly annoyed. "No, I was cleaning, as you requested," I emphasized. "And when I opened that yearbook, I was stunned. A curly-haired boy with narrow eyes, crooked teeth, and skin covered in acne. It took me a few minutes to realize it was you." Tyler exhaled slowly. "I always wondered why you never introduced me to your college friends in 8 years. Why we had a small wedding without friends. Why there weren't any teenage photos in our house. Now I understand." "I changed because of my insecurities," he said quietly. "No," I replied. "You changed because you wanted a new life, but you forgot a simple truth. Genetics cannot be altered." Silence hung between us. "Do you think I'm ashamed of who I was?" "No," I said. "I pity an innocent child who will grow up with 2 parents incapable of being honest. You hid your past. Marissa did too. And now you're surprised your daughter doesn't resemble the edited versions you've both created? Do you think she'll resemble that old version of me?" Tyler's voice trembled. "No one knows, but she will carry within her what is true in you. Your blood, your DNA, everything you've tried to erase." I heard him take a deep breath. "And Marissa?" I interjected one last time. She's been crying, saying she's exhausted after giving birth. But you know what's worse? She won't hold the baby. Every time she looks at her daughter's face, she turns away. Yesterday, her mother had to take the baby because she refused. I don't know what to do. I was silent. A bitter heaviness rose in my chest, not because of Tyler, but because of the child, already rejected by those who brought her into this world. I lowered my voice. You once said I didn't succeed as a wife because I wasn't willing to sacrifice. But the one who abandons his role as a father is you. Tyler choked, perhaps about to say something, but I stopped him. You don't need my advice. I only hope you don't pass on your shame to this little girl. She's done nothing wrong. I ended the call without letting him reply. Then I blocked his number. I had nothing more to listen to. Almost a year after my last conversation with Tyler, I barely remembered his presence in my life. Not because I tried to forget, but because the life I had built after him had filled every empty space he left behind. I moved into a small apartment in Boulder, just a 10-minute walk from my office. The balcony overlooked green hills, and there was enough sun to grow a few pots of herbs. Mornings no longer evoked dread. I woke early, brewed coffee, and breathed. I kept my job, but reduced my hours, choosing a life of balance over burnout and chasing what was never meant for me. I enrolled in weekend art classes and reconnected with old friends, one of whom was Nathan, the same guy I'd met at the reunion. We didn't bind each other with promises or expectations, just quiet evenings and the simple companionship of two people valuing peace. I no longer followed Tyler's life, but life has a strange way of informing you about people who were once in it. One early autumn day, I bumped into Lana at a used bookstore. After a few customary greetings, she leaned in and whispered, "Have you heard anything about Tyler?" I shook my head slightly. "Marissa is looking for a divorce attorney." I raised an eyebrow, not surprised. "They say Tyler cheated again," Lana continued, "with a new associate at his wife's company. Marissa found out 3 months ago, but kept quiet for the sake of the child." "The child?" I asked. "Their daughter. She's almost 3, but it gets worse." Lana showed me a screenshot from a kindergarten parent group. "There's a new girl in the group. Her mother had full facial plastic surgery. Somehow, the kids found out and started teasing her. Underscore, underscore, quotation mark, underscore, 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 underscore. The poor thing has been crying all week." I stared at the message, my heart clenching. While I no longer cared about Tyler or Marissa, the thought of a child being tormented for others' decisions stirred something within me. Sorrow, anger, both. "Marissa regrets giving birth," Lana added. "She thought the child would inherit her post-surgery beauty, but now it's apparent the girl carries the original genes." I said nothing because, honestly, there was nothing more to say. Tyler and Marissa had once chosen a version of life wrapped in glitter, built on illusions of beauty, status, and control. But ultimately, what couldn't be concealed, the past, the truth, and how they treated others, became most evident when they welcomed a child. I returned to my day, picked up a small croissant from the bakery, and ambled home through the park, where golden light dappled through patches of grass. My life now lacks drama and unforeseen twists, yet it possesses a rhythm, a self-reliance, and a completeness I once thought unattainable. I still reflect, at times, on my journey. 8 years of marriage, an abrupt separation, a shameless betrayal, and the unraveling of everything beneath that flawless outward appearance. But I no longer harbor resentment. Instead, I feel a profound gratitude, because that collapse offered me an opportunity to be reborn, not as someone new, but as my authentic self. Uncompromised, unashamed, and without the pretense that everything was fine. If anyone ever asks if I've forgiven Tyler, I'll likely offer a gentle smile and reply, I don't need to forgive anyone. I simply need to live in peace with myself. And for the first time in years, I can say that with absolute conviction. Isabella's narrative serves as a testament to the fact that appearances can deceive the entire world, but time invariably reveals the truth. When she was betrayed and cast aside for not being perfect, she didn't seek vengeance or plead for reconciliation. She quietly departed and rebuilt her life from within. In the end, those who built their lives on falsehoods faced the consequences they themselves had created. Isabella, on the other hand, found liberation, serenity, and her true essence, something that plastic surgery cannot possibly purchase. What are your reflections on Isabella's choices and the downfall of those who lived deceptively? Share your perspectives in the comments section. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on more inspiring and remarkable family narratives.